production of Broad and High is funded in part by the Greater Columbus Arts Council, supporting arts, advancing culture, and connecting the community to artists, events, and classes at columbusmakesart.com.
And PNC, committed to Central Ohio, for the achiever in you.
This time on Broad and High. Ohio's 2018 Teacher of the Year is an art teacher, so we couldn't help but pop into his classroom in Powell to get to know him better.
Part of the challenge for me is to engage all of them, to teach them that there is a purpose for art in their life.
And join us as we explore the art and architecture of St. Joseph Cathedral in downtown Columbus. This and more right now on Broad and High. Hi everyone, welcome back to Broad and High. I'm your host, Kate Quickle. Back in September, state officials honored an art teacher with the distinction of being Ohio's 2018 Teacher of the Year. He's Clintonville resident John Jurovich, and he spends his days teaching art to kindergartners through 5th graders at Liberty Tree Elementary School up in Powell. And now, he's one of 4 finalists under consideration for National Teacher of the Year. We popped into his classroom to learn more about him.
I am the art teacher here at Liberty Tree Elementary School. I teach kindergarten through 5th grade. It is a wild adventure every day.
What's this?
Being in this type of environment, I have all different types of students. Students that love art, students that believe that one day they will be the next great contemporary artist, and I have students that are here because they have to be. And part of the challenge for me is to engage all of them, to teach them that there is a purpose for art in their life.
Is there a way to like mess this up? No. Right? Like even if you did this. Look how beautiful that is. Yeah. Isn't that cool?
So today I'm working with 1st graders, and I've introduced them to Eric Carle, the famous author and illustrator.
He was a big fat caterpillar.
With a tiny little face.
And I'm actually collaborating with our music teacher, and we're developing a musical based off of The Very Hungry Caterpillar, where she's developing her own music, and the students in here are making the sets and some puppets and all the accessories, so that it's a really great collaboration between those 2 areas. So I found out a year ago that I was nominated by my principal, Terry Caton, for the Teacher of the Year for the state of Ohio, and I kept shrugging it off and didn't even tell anybody. And then this past fall, I was named 2018 Ohio Teacher of the Year.
I can just say with pure testimony from seeing it firsthand that Jonathan Jurovich really deserves this honor as being the Ohio Teacher of the Year for 2018. So I'm happy, Jonathan, to present this resolution to you on behalf of the Ohio House of Representatives. And by the way, Jonathan is with his wife Amy here today, so congratulate both of them on this wonderful award.
What's really interesting is that I've got these dual thoughts, right? One of my thoughts is it's incredible that an art educator is the Teacher of the Year for our state, right? It's this really exciting thing where I get to talk about the importance of art education. But at the same point, why should I be surprised and excited about that? Because of course an arts educator could be the Teacher of the Year. But it's an incredible moment for arts advocacy, for us to talk about the role of art in, teaching the whole child.
As an educator, you want intrinsic motivation to come out of kids. And this is when I first started to realize that John had something special. He was doing this art project with recycled materials. What started to happen is that kids were going home then, looking around in their own collection, one kid in the garbage can and things, and they were creating these wonderful pieces of art, and they couldn't wait to bring it back to show Mr. J. You can't measure that, that kid felt so empowered from his class. You don't have that a lot of times. And that's when I knew there was something about him that made kids want to go out, create, share their work, and then come back and say, look what I've done. And that's what we want. That's what we want as educators. You want that intrinsic motivation to do something special.
I'm the popper. I'm the prince and the popper. I'm the prince and the popper.
It's Battle of the Brush Night.
The arts here really celebrated Liberty Tree, which of course I'm excited about. But we developed this idea, learning from other art teachers from other districts about something called the Battle of the Brush. And what we decided is to gear it more towards families and talking about who they are and their culture. And so families sign up and they pay a small fee to get all their supplies and resources. And when they come in the door, they get one of 3 topics that center around community or culture. And then they come in and they sit down, and when we say go, they open up their secret envelope with one of their topics in it, and then they as a family have 2 hours to brainstorm and then create a piece of artwork based off that theme.
John is now one of the 4 finalists for National Teacher of the Year.
And it is incredibly humbling. My whole platform and what I want to share with people is that we have small, tiny moments in our everyday lives where we can make a difference for other people. And so you don't have to be named Teacher of the Year or win an award to make a difference in someone's life. And so that's really my hope, is that I'll be able to share that with as many people as possible, that we take those moments and support others.
The National Teacher of the Year will be announced sometime this spring. In the meantime, follow him on Instagram at Liberty Tree Art. And P.S. The nomination process for the 2019 Ohio Teacher of the Year is now open. Visit education.ohio.gov to learn more. This October, St. Joseph Cathedral will celebrate its 140th anniversary. This French Gothic structure is home to the Catholic Diocese of Columbus. We ventured inside to learn more about its magnificent art and architecture, and how the diocese continues to play a vital role in the community.
I'll be honest with you, when people walk into this cathedral, the first thing they do is stare up.
The first bishop of Columbus, Bishop Rosecrans, always wanted to begin building a cathedral. It took 10 years. The cathedral was completed in 1878, and it was dedicated by Bishop Rosecrans, who then left the ceremony, went back to his residence, and died. Now that's a rather dramatic nunc dimittis. Have you ever heard that term? It's from Scripture, the Gospel of Luke. Simeon, when he saw the child Jesus, said, "Now, Lord, you can dismiss your servant." The building is a cathedral not because of size or particular location. It's because this is where the bishop sits and presides over his people. Over my shoulder you'll see the cathedra, or the cathedra, some people say. It's a Greek term, means chair. The chair is occupied only by the bishop. It's the chair that gives the name to the building. And also, this cathedral is a beautiful sound chamber.
The cathedral choir is comprised of about 17 professional singers from the area. It's also augmented by about a dozen volunteers. The cathedral's pipe organ was built by Paul Fritz, who is an organ builder in Tacoma, Washington.
So this is one of the largest pipe organs, one of the finest in the world, a little over 10 years old right now.
It's really a marvel of modern organ design. It is 100 ranks, which means that it's about 5,000 pipes.
It's all mechanical, and so it's fascinating to go on the inside to see how it works. We're called to take care of the needs of the poor. And so for us, we have what's called the backdoor ministry. Last year, we fed just under 19,000 persons. We provided meals for under 19,000 persons last year. And we feed twice a day through the backdoor ministry, and it's for the poor and the needy and the homeless.
It's wonderful and also kind of sad that we have to do that there are people who would go hungry without this. But it's wonderful that we can serve them, and the cathedral becomes a focal point not only for the worship of the diocese, but for the care of the poor. I'd like to say that in 150 years, these walls and the pews have been kind of soaked in prayer continually. And it's a reminder of the fact that all of us are part of an ongoing community, stretching way back into history and will stretch forward into the future. We are the present manifestation of it, but we're part of an extraordinary continuity.
Be sure to visit the Cathedral's website to learn about Mass times and upcoming concerts. They also offer guided tours of the nave, crypt, and undercroft. Visit stjosephcathedral.org for details. Our next story takes us to Gahanna, where Cheryl Williams spends her days as a business analyst. But ever since she received a sewing machine for Christmas in 2014, her second job was stitched in place. She's the woman behind Double Clutched, a line of custom-made handbags and accessories. Here's her story.
So I'm from Dayton, Ohio. I graduated from The Ohio State University in 2010 with my bachelor's in industrial systems engineering. So my mom's always been kind of the DIY person of the house. I definitely get her DIY gene. Me and my brother are both into like making clothes and making our own things. And how the business came about was I got a sewing machine for Christmas. My mom gave me the ringer of how to sew and load a bobbin, and I broke about 10 needles before I actually got a smooth thing going. And my brother actually knows how to sew, so he gave me pointers and what fabrics to use, and interfacing and cutting. So it was definitely self-taught, family taught, but no formal training, but family training. So that's how Double Clutch came about, is I wanted to be able to create things for other people to be able to carry all your necessities, but still be cute, still be fashionable. And like I said, you can never have one too many. So I have bifold wallets, which was just simple wallets you can use for credit cards, business card holders. I also make tote bags, clutches, because it is double clutched. So I make a variety of clutches. I also make crossbody bags, and then I also make like wristlets and zip pouches for like makeup, and you can use it like as a purse organizer. One customer wanted a toiletry bag. I would have never thought to make one of those. I made one, I loved it. So now I'm going to make toiletry bags. I just got an order for a bifold wallet, so that's due to go out the door. And then I also am experimenting with adding tabs on my zippers, so they kind of gives a more professional, clean look. So they call them fat quarters. It's a measurement of 18 inches by 22 inches, and if you take 4 of them, you get a yard. So they're really easy, just small pieces of fabric that you can use to make like pot holders or bracelets or headbands or anything like that. So it was really just about getting in there, trying things out, not being afraid to mess up and find more fat quarters. On the inside of each piece, I kind of use something special, well, not special, it's called interfacing. And that kind of brings extra quality and a stiffness and a sturdiness to the product. And so between the lining and your outside, there's actually something in the middle that keeps it kind of, gives it a little stiffness. I really like patterns that are bold but simple. So a lot of lines, a lot of geometric designs, triangles, squares. A lot of African prints have a lot of like bold lines and colors. Being able to create things that other people will love, I think is what keeps me going. So you sew everything kind of with the inside of the bag outside. So you're kind of not being able to see what the pocket is inside out, the lining's inside out, the exterior is inside out, but when it all comes together and you kind of flip it and it finally looks like a purse, that's probably the most exciting part. Like, it looks like a square and I know there's a strap inside and there's some hardware in there, but then it finally is like, oh, there's the purse that I just made. So the very end is probably the best part.
You can browse Cheryl's collection on her website at doubleclutched.com or follow her on Instagram. As a military search dog handler in Iraq, Logan Black became quite attached to his partner, a yellow lab named Diego. Together, they searched for hidden bombs in dangerous war zones. Black's experience compelled him to write a poignant one-man play about his and Diego's relationship, and he performed it as part of the Kansas City Fringe Festival. It is an autobiographical story about a soldier, his dog, their harrowing near-death experiences, and the moral consequences of war.
Diego! The same dream again.
Based on his 2006 tour of duty in Iraq, Bond chronicles the relationship between Logan Black and his bomb-detecting partner Diego. It all started in 1996, when fresh out of high school, Logan joined the Utah National Guard. In 2004, in deference to 9/11, Logan suspended his undergrad studies and went active duty with the Army. But there was just one problem.
The job I had there wasn't available in the military, so they said, we're going to reclassify you and make you a combat engineer. So primarily dealing with landmines and explosives and that sort of thing. It's a terrifying job. I found out about a new dog program that the DoD was doing in conjunction with the British Army. So I called the enlisted personnel branch at the Pentagon and say, there's a dog school, right, for engineers? And they said, yeah. And I said, I want to volunteer. And 2 weeks later, I came down on orders.
I first met Diego in 2005 as part of the Specialized Search Dog Course in Fort Leonard Wood, a few hours south of here. These guys had over 40 years of explosive detection work, and they were geniuses. Right, lads. Welcome to the Specialized Search Dog Course. Over the next 14 weeks, you and your sons will learn to detect over 40 individual explosive odors. IEDs, improvised explosive devices, have become the most lethal weapon insurgents are using against coalition forces, and they're damn good at it.
As destiny would have it, out of the 24 possible dogs, Logan was paired with that keen yellow lab.
We clicked instantly, and he was smart. So smart. He would cheat. About halfway through, Diego started finding devices faster than any other dog. And I don't mean running a 40-minute problem in 20 minutes. I mean, he would almost run right to the bomb. After a few days of this, Ron realized that Diego was tracking his scent to where he was placing the bomb. We had to start changing up who set our problems so that Diego would just search. Oh, he was the perfect mixture of play drive, curiosity, and intelligence. And his nose.
Logan and Diego were partners for over a year, making incredible finds. Together, they discovered caches of over 250,000 pounds of weapons, explosives, IEDs, and ammunition. Because of the specialized task they performed, the pair weren't part of a specific unit, instead being assigned to missions with everyone from the SEALs to the Iraqi police. But this constant shifting bore with it a deep sense of isolation.
It was just me and Diego. I'd do a mission, we'd come home, I'd go back to my trailer, get ready for the next mission. I was left on my own to process all the emotions that were happening.
No! Diego! This way! Come! No. You're okay. Moving on to conduct a rapid search. Every fiber in my body is telling me that this is a car bomb. Come on, buddy. What's this?
So I know without him, had I been alone in those situations, or had I even been with a dog that we didn't have a personal connection on top of the professional working connection, I don't know how I would have come out of it. He absolutely kept me healthy.
When their time together came to a close, Diego was transferred to another handler, and Logan came to Kansas City to pursue an MFA in acting and directing at UMKC, all the while trying in vain to monitor his partner's retirement eligibility. They would be apart for 7 long years before being reunited in 2012 after Logan mounted a social media campaign to find his beloved boy.
It's been fantastic. I picked him up 3 years ago now and brought him back home. He still wants to work. All of his training is still second nature. When he goes into a new space, he always does a left to right cursory check of the room, looks at everything, smells everything, then says, "Okay, Dad, it's good. Now I'm just gonna lay down and somebody better come pet me." So he's living a pretty wonderful life of retirement.
But we may have never heard about their adventures if this past March, while performing in the Heart of America Shakespeare Festival's Merchant of Venice, Logan hadn't posed a question to fellow actor Robert Gibby Brand.
I said, "Hey, what one-man shows would be good for Fringe that are 60 minutes? And he said, "Oh, that's easy, yours." And so that kind of planted the seed. It took me probably about 3 months to do the initial script and then a month to do the rewrites. And it was very much a double-edged sword. I spent a lot of time doing research, and sometimes that would trigger my PTSD. And I would find that I had just gone down that rabbit hole. Other times it was very cathartic to look at a traumatic event. Now that I have perspective and distance from it, and break it down and go, why did I act the way I did? I worked very hard to never take a stance whether the war was good, whether it was right, whether we were lied to or we not. That's not what the story's about. It's just about my interaction with a dog.
And it's an interaction that has deeply resonated with audiences, a fact that surprised Logan on his first playwriting effort.
It's the type of theater I think all artists want to do. We want to affect a change in our audience's minds. And suddenly I was seeing that happen right in front of me.
And then I saw it. Diego, come! Come here, buddy!
The show ends, everyone claps, and Diego is swarmed with people to pet him, and I'm swarmed with people that are shaking my hand and hugging me and crying. I had one veteran pull me to the side. He fought in Vietnam, and he told me that if somebody from his generation had been able to tell their story in this way, he wouldn't have spent 30 years wandering in darkness. So when I have a vet tell me something like that, I have to continue telling this story. I think vets telling their stories would be a game changer. So I hope the show inspires, if it inspires one vet to write a poem, then all my productions have succeeded.
Good boy.
That's our show. Remember, you can find all of our stories online at WOSU.org and on the WOSU Public Media mobile app. Of course, you can always follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We're taking you out today with the music of a local blues trio known as Theo's Loose Hinges. For all of us here at WOSU, I'm Kate Quickle. Thanks for watching. We'll see you back here next week.
I'll put a suit on, even nice shoes on. Call me and don't think twice. Let's set the mood, babe. Crank some tunes, babe. We can drive around. Nothing to lose, babe. Let's break some rules, babe. We'll watch the sun go down.
Production of Broad and High is funded in part by the Greater Columbus Arts Council, supporting arts, advancing culture, and connecting the community to artists, events, and classes at columbusmakesart.com.
And PNC, committed to Central Ohio, for the achiever in you.